Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because you know schools aren't, so let's get started. So this is another Stock Market Weekly recap, guys. If you've been following us, welcome back. And if you are new, what we do is we look at the previous week in the stock market, see some important news things going on, see what some individual stocks did, and a couple mutual funds. So let's get into it. Hopefully you had a great week, guys, because a lot of things were going on this week. Bunch of earnings, especially on Friday. We'll get to that very quickly. So let's first look at the Dow. Now the market for this week did fairly well. You could see that the Dow is still in the 23,000 mark. Fairly healthy so far, but for this week they did close above around 1/3%, and the S&P 500 index fund that we're looking at closed at 257.71. You could see that this week went up 0.23%. Year to date still very nice at around 15%, and on Friday you could see it jumped up a bit, and I'll show you why. Now first, earlier on the week, Tuesday, a couple of big companies reported earnings. Two that we're going to look at right now is 3M and also Caterpillar. And then on Friday, a bunch of stuff was going on with some tech earnings. We had some Amazon, Google, Apple was doing really good, so we'll get into those after these. So let's get right into it. 3M, you could see reporting earnings on Tuesday, did very well, up almost 6% on Tuesday alone. 3M is a huge company. They've been around for a while. They have or own like Post-it. They own Scotch, like Scotch Brite, Scotch tape, that type of stuff, not alcohol. But they did very well. And the other big one that reported on Tuesday was Caterpillar. You can see on Tuesday they went up almost 5%. But Caterpillar, they are basically a construction company. They deal with, different cranes and all that operating equipment to help build whatever. Now, they actually shot up when Trump got elected because he was talking about building that wall. And since Caterpillar is involved with building, they went up since then. You could see the year to date, they're up ridiculous. And with the earnings, they're up even more. Now, I won't get into detail with those guys, but what I am saying for this video, because we're going over a lot of different earnings and a lot of news stuff that made stocks go up a good amount. When a stock goes up, that's not a buy. That's kind of like you're kind of too late to the party. You should have been in it. For the long term, it's probably going to go higher if you have a good company, right? Well, I wouldn't suggest buying a stock if it goes up. If anything, I would wait even longer. You should be buying it when it goes down, when it's cheaper. Why would you buy it when it's more expensive? Talking of expensive, boom, holy Lord, Amazon, they bursted through the $1,000 mark right there. You can see on Friday, I was so freaking happy, guys. Their earnings came out over 13% on Friday, closed over $1,100 a share. Year to date, over 46%, just destroying it. Now, quick thing, Amazon and Google, they were kind of not at these high levels, but they were at over 1,000, and they actually dropped in recent months. And so they went down, but then they rebounded, and now they're making all new highs. So that's, again, if a stock is doing bad, don't sell it, because usually it'll rebound just like these guys. Now with Amazon, why they did so well is that they recently purchased, I don't know when exactly, definitely a few months ago, Whole Foods, like that retail, supermarket, you could call it. But investors were definitely focusing on how Whole Foods would do, and obviously they were very happy with it. Getting into our next stock that we usually talk about, Apple did very well as well. They closed at 163.05. You can see on Friday alone they went up over 3.5%. For this week, they're up over 4%. Now, Apple was very, very interesting, guys. So when they first started releasing their new products, like their new iPhones and everything, especially the iPhone X, 10, I don't know, I'm going to call it X, okay? But they released their iPhone 8. Now, last week, I think it was actually, people, or maybe beginning of this week, people were looking at the demand and how it wasn't high at all. A lot of people were saying the demand or sales for iPhone 8 were anemic, very, very low. But because Friday there was a pre-order started for the iPhone X, and they sold out, I think, like around a half hour as soon as they went, so people could actually pre-order it. So obviously, if you kind of predicted this, people want the biggest and best Apple phone that they could get. So obviously, they're not going for the iPhone 8. They're going to wait a month to get the best one, the iPhone X. So their pre-order sales are ridiculous. I think now you have to wait until like early December to even get it, just because pre-orders have been ridiculous. So the sales for this phone are going to be very, very nice. You know, when they first released this, their stock went down. That was a dip. So yeah, you should have bought that dip. And now it's going back up, especially going to the holiday seasons with the iPhone X, because they're going to sell like crazy. Alright, so real quick, going out for our regular stocks with Disney. Wasn't really looking too much into them this week, but they were down around 1%, still under the 100. Still negative for the year, but December is around the corner, so Star Wars is coming out. I could kind of imagine at least a decent rebound just because of the movie. So let's move right along into another tech stock that we're usually looking at, guys, is Facebook. They had a very good Friday as well, just like Apple, Amazon, and we're going into Google next. But you could see just on Friday, up over 4%. For this week, they were actually down a little bit, and that spike on Friday helped them out. But for this week, they were up over 1.5%. But year to date, still freaking phenomenal. And of course, the next big one is Google. They did phenomenal just as well on Friday, up over 4.5% actually. For the week, they were up around 3%. Year to date, over 30%. And broke, just like Amazon, broke that $1,000 mark. Awesome. So I was really excited with these plays, guys, just because their earnings and just good news on them. So again, with these popular stocks, they could be volatile in the short term. You could see if any type of bad news or any thought surrounding negative news about them, it could drop. But like we said, long term, focus on that. They usually rebound and do very well. So since we're talking about these high flyers, we're going into our mutual fund that we usually look at, which is Fidelity Contrafund, because they have a bunch of these holdings in their mutual fund, like Facebook, Apple, Google, Amazon, all those cool guys for this week. You could see that they closed at 126.58. You could see that spike in later in the chart there. This is set for a month, by the way, because I can't go any sooner. But for the week, they are up around 2%. So because they held these great performers on Friday, that definitely helped them. You can see on Friday, they rose close to 1.85%. Not bad. And the last guy that we usually look at, Starbucks, nothing too crazy this week. Closed 54.88, up around 0.5%, but still negative for the year. Now, those are all the stocks that we usually look at, guys, but let me put an idea in your head, all right? Because there are some people thinking that a stock market correction could happen. What is a correction, or maybe a correction, a crash, something like that, maybe in the near future, some people saying around 2018, I could kind of see that. just because things are looking so good. They keep going up and up and up. Now, a lot of people think they should get out at these levels, wait for it to go down, and then they get back in. Well, here's the problem. Like we were seeing with Apple, with Google, when they were going down, we're like, oh, should we buy the dip? So we keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then all of a sudden, it's back at the levels and making all-time highs. So people think, oh, I'll sell out now and get in at a lower level. That normally does not happen. So hold, wait for the rebound. If you still believe in the company and it does go down, that's when you should probably get in more, actually. So I am looking forward to a correction, hopefully. A thing that could definitely trigger it is the tax reforms that Trump is trying to get through. If investors don't like it, or if the tax reform is simply dumb, that's going to affect the market. And that could create a correction, like a 5-10% drop. That would be to get in more. So that is why I'm accepting this. I'm not scared if it drops. Then over the long term, it'll rebound and we'll look even better. So, what do you think, guys? If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because not many people do, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.